Okay, Programming 12, welcome back. Today we are going to be continuing on our platformer project, and the new thing, now that we've loaded some sort of world from a map, we can use an image editor as a level editor. We're going to add in a character that can jump around and move around inside of our world, and then we're going to attach a camera, or basically we're going to use translate to move our character, move the screen with our character as the character explores the world. And that way we can kind of see beyond the bounds of our screen. So I've made a couple of updates to the code that we were working on yesterday, and I invite you to make similar updates just to keep things similar to mine, and just because they're good design. I put things into functions, for example. And also I've added in some keyboard things. So I'll just go over those additions. So first of all, I've started adding in the keyboard stuff. I just kind of copied and pasted from another project. So I have more than I need, but maybe it'll become a two-player project later on, so who knows. So I have those Boolean variables, and I made a tab with key released and key pressed. That's sort of setting those variables to true and false using key and key code. So go ahead and add those in, and you could probably just copy and paste from your previous project. I also included a space key, pretty standard in some kind of platformer game to press space for shooting or jumping or something. So that's good. And then also you can see my setup is a lot smaller because I put a lot of stuff into a function. So load world now is the function that creates the world and loads the terrain. So you can see I still have size and Fisica in it, and then loading the image for the map. But then load world now takes a parameter that's a p image, and I just send it the map, and it creates the world, sets its gravity, and then it has that nested for loop structure that'll go through it. And I did change this to img, the parameter, so that I could send it any map. Theoretically, you might have multiple levels to the game, and so you could call load world while the game is running when you hit a door or something to go to another room or another level or whatever you want to describe it in the fiction of your game. So that change happens, in various places, but that's not a lot different than what we already had. It just put it into a function, and otherwise I think everything is the same. So I added in background white because otherwise it's not the color; it's just the fact that it's not updating. So if we add our character in, it's going to leave a streak behind, so it's not clearing previous pixels from old frames. So now it will do that. Okay, so there you go. That's basically the changes we made. Go ahead and make those changes. And then we're going to jump into making a character. And instead of just making it a plain F box like we did in our Fisica volleyball game, we're actually going to go ahead and make a class. So I made a new tab here. It's called FPlayer. Everything seems to start with the letter F in Fisica, so I figure we'll stick with that parlance, if you will, that convention. So I'm going to make class FPlayer, and here's the new thing and the exciting thing that we're doing. We can build upon other people's classes. So if you have a library full of amazing, useful classes, you can sort of add on stuff. So instead of inventing our own character from the ground up, a character is basically a square on the screen, although there will be an image attached to it. And then we can add variables onto the existing F-body frame. And I'll probably make it a F-box by default, but there's all sorts of different choices you can make there. And you can extend any of the classes that we've been doing. So I can just say FPlayer extends F-box. Oops. So effectively, and just ignore the error message for a second, effectively an FPlayer is an F-box. So we can do all the things we would normally do with F-boxes. We can set their position, we can set their fill color, we can choose if they're static or not static, we can apply velocities to them, we can do all the things that we normally would do with F-boxes, and we can specify additional data they will store. For example, how many lives they have, inventory, I don't know, whatever you want to put into it. And we can animate it. We can have images, almost like an animated GIF playing on it as we press the keys. All sorts of stuff can be built into this class. So that's the exciting thing that we're doing now. So yeah, this is called creating a subclass. So FPlayer is a subclass of FBox, and FBox is the superclass to FPlayer. Okay, so those are good words to know. Let's get started. So let's make ourselves the constructor for this. So it's just FPlayer. And I won't make it take any parameters just yet. And when you extend FBox, guess what you got to do? You got to use FBox's constructor as well. Because if this is an FBox, then we still need to do all the usual FBox constructor stuff. So how do you call FBox's constructor from a subclass of FBox? It's the super keyword. So I can call super, and then this is basically calling FBox's constructor. So it expects a width and a height. So I can send it, for example, grid size. And we knew how FBox's constructor worked from previous things. We even used it in our load world, right? We created a new FBox. So that's essentially what we're doing there. We're just calling FBox's constructor. And notice the error message went away. Now the FBox part of our FPlayer is created and satisfied, and we can go and add in additional things. So for example, we can say set position, and I'll set mine to somewhere that when it arrives in the world, it will not fall to its doom. I'll set color, set fill color to red, maybe, just to make it stand out a bit. Okay, so we can specify all of its properties just like any FBox in the past. So that's just where we'll stop for specifying this. We'll just go see if this works. Let's go try to add it. I guess actually we have to add it to the world too, hey? We'll just do it outside of the class. Okay, so I would also like to make a load world. So let's also load character. I'm going to call it F. The words are difficult. I wanted to call it a character. I guess call it an F character, but character is taken. It means like a single letter in a string, so I avoided it. Load player, I guess. We'll just make a quick function for that. So after load world, I'll make another void here. Load player. And maybe we'll make this load entities or something, like maybe we'll expand this a bit in the future. But right now we'll just make a character. I guess we have to have a variable for that. So at the very top of my global variables, I'm going to make an FPlayer object called player. We'll just make player for now. Maybe we'll have 1 and 2 later on. And then we will say player equals new FPlayer. Wow, spelling is hard. And then we should probably add that to the world. And you might be like, wait, can we add an FPlayer to the world? It's not something that Fisica recognizes, but yes, we can, because it extends FBox, and FBoxes can go into worlds, so can FPlayers. So I can say world.add player. So let's just run this and see, does it go into the world? Sure does. There it is. There's our player. Doesn't do anything yet with keys, so we'll have to figure that out. But we have our player ready to go. So I think the next step will be adding in some kind of like keyboard, things. So what I'll do is I'll make an act function. So I'll say void act. And this will basically just be the code for moving our character around. So, when we press the keys, we want to read in the data and see what happens there. So you might have to do a little bit of playing around to decide, the forces and velocities that we're going to use, but something similar to what we were doing in the volleyball game to make our characters move around. Those values probably are pretty good. So let's go and add that in right now. Wait. Okay, so let's do it. Sorry. So I'm going to put in something like, let's use the WSD keys. So if a key is pressed, then we'd like the character to move to the left. So we can sort of set the velocity right, left. So we can say set velocity. And then we can give it sort of a right velocity. And I can't remember what numbers we use. I'll just try a number like -500. That'll move it to the left. And our VY, we really don't want to override, right? So it'd be nice to just sort of like whatever its current VY is. So, you know, we could put in get velocity y here. That would be fine. Or you could, if you don't like putting the function inside of a function too much, we could also do this as a separate step. We could say something like float vy equals get velocity y, and then put vy here, just to make that code look a little cleaner. Up to you. I'll put in if D key is pressed, we'll set velocity to 500, and then whatever our current y velocity is. So let's take a look and see if that did a thing. Don't forget to click on your window when it comes in, and we can see if the character's not moving. Oh, you know why? Because we're not actually calling the act function. We should probably do that. So where do we do that? Probably in the draw function would be a good place. We can, like, you know, the physics are being handled, but the things that are unique to FPlayer are not being handled by Fisica. So we'd have to, you know, for example, player.act, we could put that in here. And then every frame we'll call the act function and check it. So now, whoa, this character zips. Woo, it's moving fast. So it doesn't jump yet, so you know, that's not too hard to do. And you might want to use your code from before about making it not jump in the air. So I'll let you build in those parts by looking at your volleyball code. I'm just going to kind of leave it at that because this is enough for the demonstration purposes. So go ahead and add in jumping, and of course adjust these numbers. Holy smokes, this character's fast. This is a little more my speed. All right, so we'll stop there, and then in our next video, what we'll do is we'll take a look at how do we attach a camera to our character, which is to say, we're just going to be translating and possibly scaling for our project to keep the focus on the character, and it's really the background and the rest of the world that will move left and right while we stay sort of fixed in the center of the camera. All right, thanks everybody. I guess I'll do this the old-fashioned way.